following podcast has been paid for and brought to you in part by Front Row Material.
In these last seconds, we'd like to communicate out to all those listening that this goes out to a select few, the not for everyone, the outsiders, the left behind and forgotten. It's a cold world, so bundle up. And now your host for the cult of Beardo, Big Daddy Beardo.
Well, welcome to another edition of Cult of Beardo. I am the host, the Ritt, and we've got a new little panel format here tonight. Of course, we got our great Canadian, Mr. Butt from the North. Butt, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Ritt, how are you, my man?
Doing a lot better than what you are.
Yeah,
Then,
fair.
down below him, we've got our journeyman rock star, Renegade. What's going on, man?
Happening.
How's that movie business going on for you?
Hey, the roles just keep coming in for old Mr. Butt up there. We've got a fantastic one on the table right now. He will be playing Tom Cruise in Missionary Impossible.
Wow, man! But
Gonna be good.
Hey, I bet you that's going to be a huge series coming up.
It is. It'll be a solid 37 seconds. But that's all that matters.
As long as it's solid.
It's quality, not quantity.
And we've got a new addition. I don't know why she said yes, but we're going to find out.
Neither do we.
We have the lovely Taylor. How are you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Oh, not so bad.
Doing well.
So, well, let's get a little bit to know you a little bit. So, what got you into pro wrestling?
Oddly enough, Chris Jericho. My first ever Monday Night Raw that I watched, it was him and Stone Cold, Steve Austin, the main event for it was a non-title match. That was the start of that. And then John Moxley was actually one of my favorites, still is one of my favorites, who really got me into indie wrestling. Because at the time I was living in Cincinnati, and it was the Heartland Wrestling Association ran by Cody Hawk, who actually, that whole thing. So that's kind of what got me started as far as the wrestling business goes.
Oh,
Nice.
Well, but let's catch her up. What got you into pro wrestling? Some fond 1970s memories.
I'm not that old. Come on, I have a full head of hair. You do not.
I shave this by choice.
Okay. Growing up, my grandfather watched a lot of wrestling when I was a boy, obviously, and my grandfather was my hero. He was a man's man. Hunted, he fished, he was in the military. No, he was an outdoorsman. I looked up to him. So Pop watched wrestling. So I watched wrestling. So I wanted to be half the man he was. And that's what got me into it. We've seen stuff like Stampede Wrestling. We never got a lot of NWA or anything like that, WCW. Definitely not when I was a little boy. We'd get a Saturday night's main event. It was about the only WWF at that point we got where I'm from. We'd get some Canadian stuff, a little bit here, a little bit there. And that's what got me into it. He loved it. To Pop, it was still real. He knew he wasn't real, but it was real. And he'd tell stories about like Whipper Billy Watson. You guys probably have no idea who that is. He was a Canadian guy. That was my Pop's big, the guy he cheered for. And that's what got me hooked. And rest has been history, I guess.
Renegade, what about you? I've heard the story 1,010 times. But...
So the memories are a little blurry anymore, but I feel like I came across it by accident, flipping through it on a old black and white television that only had like 3 channels on it. And I remember catching some of the stuff on Saturday Night Main Event with, the Ultimate Warrior getting put in the casket, and pretty sure I saw the one where he was also bitten by the cobra. Those were some of the early memories. And then my great uncle gave me a whole bunch of old WWF magazines, and it just kind of grew from there. Big Hogan fan, grew into the 90s, and just followed along for ever until the last few years, and then I just kind of gave up on it. So, yeah. Good times in the 80s.
Yeah,
These were good.
Yeah, that's where I started mine at. My first one was NWA Night of the Skywalkers. It was the Midnight Express and the Road Warriors on a scaffolding. And just seeing people, up there fighting, Cornette getting thrown off, that was like, wow. So, I sit there and try to catch up, pay attention as much as I can. Nowadays, to me, WWE product is not what it should be or what it once was or what it ever will be again. So I'm more of a AEW guy, but I still pay attention to a lot of the indie stuff because on our show, Future Stars Now, we go and interview a lot of the up-and-coming indie stars. And, doing a little homework on each one, you catch new promotions, you see new talent, and it's, pretty amazing. So Taylor, what's your thoughts on wrestling nowadays? The product.
I'm very much like you. WWE is not what it was even like 5 years ago. It's very hard for me to watch it. I'll watch it for like women's stuff, but other than that, it's kind of like I'm kind of mostly AEW indie stuff. Their product needs severe improvement before I'd ever consider watching it again. It's
Absolutely.
It sucks because there's a lot of good talent down there in WWE, but they're not being used how they should be, or like there's a lot of stuff that lacks.
Yeah. So, but hey, we're gonna get on the man that started you, Chris Jericho.
Yes.
2 weeks ago, we went and we delved through his early stuff. Training with up there in Calgary and overseas in Japan, Mexico, Smoky Mountain, and we have come to the land of the extreme. So we're going to start off. Or have you had any chance to see any Chris Jericho in ECW? But let's start with you.
Unfortunately, no. I've never seen any of his matches on ECW. I don't know if they're on the network or not. I haven't. I probably should give it a go and just to see. So realistically, my first memories are WCW, and even those are few and far between. So unfortunately, I can't really comment on his ECW run without talking out my ass, which I'll gladly do if need be.
Hey, that's what gets me through 90% of my interviews in work and on FRM Pod.
Fair.
Renegade, what about you?
Well, you've known me a long time, and I've always told you that I was never an ECW guy. You always were. Pretty much strictly WWE. I did not ever catch any of Jericho in ECW. I imagine with some of the talent that they had there was probably some incredible matches that went under the radar for me. But no, it was unfortunately I never really tuned in when he was there.
Taylor, what about you?
I've had to go back and watch a couple of them because it was a little bit before my time even. So, but he had the one match that sticks out to me was Cactus Jack and Jericho. It was I forget what year it was, but that's one of the main ones that I've seen, but I haven't seen a lot of it to the point where I know a lot about it or anything.
Yeah, Jericho. I kind of enjoyed he kept the Lionheart gimmick that he had down in Mexico, you know, and when he was in ECW, known as Lionheart Chris Jericho. And, you know, he got his foot in the door because of a match from he had with Ultimo Dragon for the junior weight championship over in War. Mick Foley seen it, and he's like, you know, told Paul pretty much, hey, you got to check this match out. And from what I read before and seen in videos, of course, Paul Heyman being Paul Heyman, you know, does the whole phone call thing like we heard Mikey and Jerry talk about on FRM Pod of you call him, you call him, and you keep getting, you know, the runaround. And then one day he calls you back and he's like, I've been trying to get a hold of you for a year. And, you know, Mikey always said that's what Paul always did, you know, that's the way he was. And he got his first match. Let me see here. I can't see where he actually made his debut against. But he ran
good to see our host is well prepared.
Hey! I'm just going off of Wikipedia. It doesn't say. But then again, maybe I should go in and change Wikipedia. But you know, he started
the Wikipedia fiasco we had.
Oh my!
A couple months ago.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
Taylor, we interviewed a very good professional wrestler, and we went off of Wikipedia, and it was completely wrong.
Oh no!
Completely wrong. And he, like, I know him personally, so like he was a good sport about it, but he's like, that's not it. Like Wikipedia said that he won the Super 8 tournament. He's like, no. He goes, I broke my ankle. They had to stop the match.
Oh shit.
So I'm like, yeah, I just closed the Wikipedia page and we just bullshit our way through the rest of it. But he started in ECW in 95. And where he won the television title against Pitbull number 2. And just the talent that was there during the run of ECW that later left to go to WWE, WWF, and then WCW. You know, he was there with all the cruiserweights: Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, Benoit, you know, Sabu, the Dudleys, and he had great matches, like especially the one that Taylor was talking about with Cactus Jack. And he ended up, his last match was against Too Cold Scorpio. So, which was another, you know, underrated talent at the time in ECW. Very
ahead of his time.
Yeah, not just WCW or ECW. He was underrated everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah, Too Cold Scorpio, like Taylor sit there and said, was way ahead of his time. He was doing stuff in the early to mid 90s that a lot of people weren't even thinking about doing, you know, until late 90s, early 2000s. So what we're talking about, Too Cold Scorpio, Renegade, Flash Funk, Too Cold Scorpio, however you want to call him. You got any memories of him? And please, hopefully it's a Too Cold Scorpion, not a Flash Funk. That was possibly one of the worst gimmicks I've ever seen.
So it was all Flash Funk. And, you know, I thought he was super talented, but I only know him as Flash Funk mostly. And that's unfortunate because what an awful gimmick. And, you know, based on probably what he did in ECW, and this is a WWE thing that's been the problem for them for a long time, is you take something that works elsewhere and then you crap all over it. And, you know, you don't use them to their strengths. So, you know, Too Cold Scorpio is probably awesome where he, you know, in ECW and where he was before. And then you bring him in and go, yeah, you're Flash Funk. And like, all right. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. I'll have to do some digging on that and find some Too Cold Scorpio stuff when he was cooler.
He had a lot of good matches in WCW. I do remember that. where he wrestled for the television championship on numerous occasions. So, Butt, what about you?
I remember my first memory is him and Buff Bagwell as a tag team. Quite the motley crew, and in hindsight, they turned out to be years later. But for them at that point, I mean, the year I couldn't tell you what it was, but they were fantastic. It was before Buff Bagwell, became Buff Bagwell as Marcus Alexander Bagwell then, and he still moved fairly well. They were a dynamic tag team. Funny stories, I seen Too Cold Scorpio in a little hick town, probably 30 miles west of me, at an independent show. And it was the same show PCO was on. It was run by Hannibal. And between PCO, who was the co-main event, and the match before that was Too Cold, they tore the house down. It was fantastic. And they're not young men anymore. But they put off they weren't wrestling each other. They were both wrestling local independent guys. They put off a great match. I mean, Too Cold's got to be, you think he's 50 yet or handy to it? He's still doing 450s and whatnot. He looked dynamite. He put off a great show. Not as big as you would think. Yeah. He's not a large man by no stretch. I was surprised. But he can move. No, even at that age, 56, I wouldn't try to do a 450. Now I'm 42. I'd break something trying to pull that shit off.
I couldn't even try a 60. So
you can barely get out of your chair.
Oh, I can roll out of this thing really easy. So, Taylor, what about you? Any fond memories of, which I'm hoping to get some Too Cold Scorpio, no more Flash Funk?
No, again, it's one of those things like, so I was born in 95, so it's been a lot of like going back and watching stuff. ECW, I didn't really get into too much ECW, honestly. I was more WCW with Jericho and Benoit and Eddie and Malenko and all those guys. But it's been more rewatching stuff than anything else.
What's going on, J-Rod? Glad you could stop by. We're doing a Jericho Part 2 topic. We're just about ready to hit World Championship Wrestling. And here we go. He debuted August 20th, 96, against a man that I can actually say is a personal friend of mine, Mr. JL, Jerry Lynn. Guys. Oh, I can't say guys anymore, damn it. Okay.
It's
people.
People.
Universal. It's okay.
Next thing you know, I'm going to be freaking getting kicked off my own freaking show. But what do you guys got a good Jerry Lynn, Mr. JL stories, matches that you guys enjoyed? Let's start down here with Taylor.
There's too many. I can't just pick one from him because he's. I'd have to think about it, honestly, because there's a lot of good matches with him.
Well, with Jerry, there's I gotta say, for me, there's like 3 main feuds in his whole career.
Incredible.
Just incredible with the Summer Series Classic. His matches with Rob Van Dam. And then over in NWA TNA, when he was just in the X Division with AJ, Low Key, all that stuff is just crazy.
I've seen a video of Jerry and Sean Waltman from, I don't know where the hell it was from, a bar somewhere.
Oh my goodness, that was
fantastic.
That was back in what promotion was that? It was in Texas.
Well, I don't know, but they put off some great matches, and that would have been like early. And Jerry had some amazing flow going on, like the full-on Jerry curl. It was fantastic. He should bring that back.
his wife Pam is trying to get him to bring it back. It's just genetics is against him 100%.
More forehead than anything else, like a 5 head now.
I'm not gonna confirm nor deny. He makes more money than I do. So Renegade, any Jerry Lynn memories?
Yeah, one comes to mind. I remember it was late at night. It was dark in the house,
Oh, look where
and
this is going.
you jumped out of a closet with that robe and the pig mask on, like in the Saw movies. And the next thing I know, I wake up, I'm tied to a chair, my eyes are taped open, and you forced me to watch a Jerry Lynn Rob Van Dam match. That's the only. I was like, this is weird, but the match was good, I thought. So made it all worthwhile.
Well, how else was I supposed to get you to watch ECW matches?
You could have asked.
You were
See,
asleep.
we never got ECW where I'm from. That was not. You couldn't get it. It was not an option.
Listen, I would have been mad, but I respect the amount of work you probably put into that. So, props to you for that.
Hey, ECW. Oh man, it was crazy. Sometimes it'd be on 1 o'clock in the morning on one channel,
Yeah.
and then you go to watch it the next week, and all of a sudden it's on 3 o'clock on a different channel. That was a game of cat and mouse. If you wanted to watch anything ECW,
Yeah. It was not an option where I'm from.
but his first Monday Nitro match was against Das Wonder Kid, Alex Wright. I'm not going to ask anybody for any Alex Wright memories.
The dance,
Dancing.
The dance.
That's about all he could do.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
He had.
Well, listen, his Alex Wright character was better than Berlin.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I didn't mind the wall.
Ugh.
It was horrible. Like
Very.
he
very
looks
boring.
he looked like a young version of Sean Spears now. Shaved head, mohawk. It was just horrible.
Sean Spears is amazing.
Sean Spears is, yes.
Canadian God.
So, but then, like Taylor mentioned earlier, he made his first pay-per-view at Fall Brawl against Chris Benoit. You know, Chris Benoit and Jericho, they had some great matches. And Chris Benoit, like, in the ring, like, there was something believable when he came down to the ring. Like, he was, like, just all business, all seriousness. And he put a little extra oomph behind all his moves.
I remember Jericho saying something about how Benoit could see moves happening before they even did. And there was also, like, they had a match and he fucked up, like, a kick or something. And then he goes in the back and is doing squats as, like, punishment. And Chris is like, why are you doing that? He's like, I fucked it up. Like, he was just very hard on himself.
Man, I could see Benoit doing that. Like, Benoit seemed to me like he was kind of like in the Savage boat, where he had everything planned out in his mind. He knew what was supposed to happen, and if he messed up, you know, it just wasn't good.
I could see that. I mean, he was damn good. I know. I mean, I don't want to get into how things ended and all that stuff. That's irrelevant. But Jesus, he was damn good. Technically, he was one of the better wrestlers of the 90s going forward. Most likely, I would think, in my opinion, anyhow. I thought he was splendid.
Renegade?
I think for that time, you know, in WWE, the top of the card was the best part of the show. In WCW at that time, guys like Benoit and Jericho and Eddie and all them, their mid-card guys, I think were the best part of that show.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think they carried that at that time, and guys like Benoit and them were solid. They were awesome. And that's why it was such a big deal when they jumped ship. But Yeah, I feel like this is the time when Jericho really started to come into his own.
Oh yeah,
Agreed.
man. I sit there and remember Jericho's mouth getting him into a lot of trouble. Like, but it was that heelish, gimmicky stuff.
Hmm.
At the next pay per view at Halloween Havoc, he wrestled Six, which was the member of the NWO at the time, Sean Waltman, and he lost because of Nick Patrick. And the next Nitro, he comes out and was like, I could beat you, Nick, with one arm tied behind my back. And then all of a sudden, that's the stipulation now. Like, and he wrestled Nick Patrick with one arm tied behind his back because he didn't know how to. His character didn't know how to, keep his mouth
Shut up.
shut. Yeah, but
Jericho's a fantastic talker. I mean, he
oh,
was on the mic. Good Lord, even back then, he was just, and it's only gotten better. But
mhm.
he could talk. There's no doubt about that. And he's great in the ring, too. But even if he was terrible in the ring, he would be a star because he can talk.
Oh man,
You want to hear him.
I loved hearing Jericho. Renegade and I talk about this like, at least once every couple months when we're talking about Jericho, about the great Monday Nitro, when he's out there, when he's in mid feud with Dean Malenko, the man of 1,000 holds, and how Chris Jericho is the man of 1,001 holds, and he came out with that. Like, I can remember that just like it was yesterday. He comes out with that big roll of printing paper, and he's sitting there going off,
That's true.
number one, arm bar. And then he sits there and names 2 more moves, and all of a sudden he goes back to number 4, arm bar. And oh my goodness. Oh, J-Rod says it was a man of 1,004 holds. But man, and then to make it even more entertaining, they go to a commercial break. And they come back, and then all of a sudden, like, he has more paper like on the mat, and like he's still going at it. Like, man, it's like the way Jericho delivered. That's like his gift. He knows how to deliver, and he knows when to do stuff at certain times. What do you guys remember about Jericho and WCW? We're gonna start with you, Renegade.
Well, everything he was doing it felt like must-see stuff. Like, he was the most creative guy, it felt like, in WCW. And, that segment was one of the first things I remember. And then him coming down with Rufus and, all this other stuff. Like, it just felt like he stood out more than just about anybody else on the show. And he was doing stuff above and beyond. And you see that the rest of his career, he would do the most interesting things. So, yeah, it was pretty awesome at that time.
Yeah, one thing I loved about Jericho, and even to this day, Jericho, when he knows exactly when stuff starts to get stale, he changes it and reinvents himself and makes it better. But what about you?
I'm not the historian Renegade is, or you, Ritt. I'm not sure if you're much of a historian, Taylor, or not. But the first thing that pops into my mind about Jericho in WCW is the lion salt. Maybe it was just a young fellow watching it. There wasn't a lot of people doing that. I don't remember anyhow. I just remember him doing that. Like, wow, that was great. Very not an advanced move by no stretch. Definitely not by today's standards. But I remember that, like, man, that guy just jumped off the middle rope and did a backflip. That's dynamite. That blew my mind. I thought that was great. And realistically, anytime he had a microphone in his hand, you know there was going to be gold. He was going to say something that you weren't expecting, could have been about just about anything, and it was just going to be solid. No matter what he said, it could be the most random, foolish thing in the world. You were either going to laugh at it or you believed it. He just drew you in that way. But realistically, the first thing that pops into my head is the lion salt. I thought that was just dynamite at that age.
Taylor, what about you?
Even like from then until now, he's like the complete package for a wrestler. Honestly, in the ring, on the mic, his look, charisma, everything. He knows what he's doing, and he's very good at it. And it kind of in WCW, it almost seemed like they overlooked him as a character because they were focused on guys like Hogan, NWO, all that.
Mm-hmm.
But him and Guerrero were honestly, when I look back at that's the first thing I think of is him and Guerrero just going at it all the time and how good those two were together in the ring, honestly.
Yeah. His Cruiserweight Championship runs were amazing. And like Renegade said earlier, that Cruiserweight division, the mid-carders, that's what built WCW. Like, once they sit there and name them Cruiserweight, it kind of like that was a death sentence overall, because they pretty much told you that's all you're going to be. You're never going to be anything more. Sorry to hear that, you know. And when he won for the first time against Six, he went on great runs. He wrestled Ultimo Dragon yet again, and I loved Ultimo Dragon. But what's going on there, buddy?
Just never mind. My cat is here.
But you know,
I stopped myself there. just my cat is here. Come here, Satan.
Just
say hello. This is Bosco. He's hell on wheels. He's probably gonna bite me in a minute because he's a jerk.
But yeah, when he had great matches over there because of the talent that, you know, Bischoff acquired. Ultimo Dragon, you know, Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, Benoit, you know, let's see, Juventud Guerrero.
Psychosis,
you know,
super crazy. Those guys were there at that point.
Dean Malenko. You know, all
Perry
those.
Saturn?
I don't think he was a cruiserweight.
Was Saturn there at that point?
Saturn was there at the time. I think he came over. J. Rogers says his match against Ultimo Dragon was gold. Which one were you talking about, J. Rod? Are you talking about the one that was in Japan that got him the ECW gig? Or are you talking about the one in WCW at Bash at the Beach? Because
how do you remember all this stuff? Like, you're like Rain Man when it comes to stuff like that. I can't remember what I had for supper yesterday. Bosco, you really want to get on tonight, don't you?
Yep, J Rod's talking about the one over in Japan, the Super J Cup. Yeah, that's the one that Mick Foley seen and told Bischoff to get him his job in ECW. You know, also I loved Ultimo Dragon. Like, what got me is when, like, I talked to Renegade all the time when we were younger about, you know, Ultimo Dragon, is when him and Sonny Ono came out and he had like 8-9 titles. I'm like, where the heck did he get all these titles from? You know, that's what drew me to him. You know, and then just watching them matches he had, and then him and Jericho was just gold. You know, did you guys think over in WCW, like I did, that once you get you all got stomped as cruiserweights, that it was a death sentence? We'll start with you, Taylor.
I know Chris. I forgot where. I want to say it was on his podcast. He expressed frustration that he was, like, people almost looked down on him because he was a cruiserweight, and people didn't take him seriously, even though he was one of the best at the time, along with all the other guys in that division. Yeah,
it was crazy. It's like they were the reason why, like, a lot of the fans were tuning in. You know, yeah, the NWO, you know, in the early stages, people enjoyed. But once you sit there and let people like, was it Big Bubba, freaking Virgil was in there, and it started getting really horrible. But
Well, it was
everybody,
97 members at one point, I think.
yeah, and it was just horrible. But everybody tuned in for the cruiserweight matches.
Mhm.
You know, Renegade. What about you? Do you think there was a bad the cruiserweight name left a bad taste in people's mouth?
I believe so. I mean, it's one of the age old problems in most sports, and sports entertainment not discluded, is being told you're too small. Being told you're not big enough to be anything more than what you are, and I think it feels like they're being held back, but they're not being taken seriously, and they can't be anything more. They'll never. Most people, I think, that get into wrestling dream of being a world champion, dream of main eventing a big pay per view, and when you're told that, those dreams go out the window because now they're telling you you'll never be a main eventer and you'll never be the world champion. So yeah, I'm sure it was a shock and very disheartening to hear, but yeah, I'm sure it caused a lot of problems.
But what about you?
Just to touch on what Renegade said, not even that long ago, wrestling was still the land of the giants. So your Guerreros, your Malenkos, your Jerichos, guys like that, they didn't have a chance, unfortunately, because they're not 6'3", 4, 5. They're not 300 pounds, gas to the nuts. But they were 10 times, realistically, they were 10 times the talent. They just weren't giants. They weren't these monsters. Not that, let's be honest, Benoit was a big dude. I don't know if he was ever 6 foot tall, but he was as wide as he was tall. He was a big man that way, but none of those guys ever got necessarily the kudos, the respect they should have got, due to the fact that they weren't the historical measuring stick. They weren't big monster dudes, and that's unfortunate. It was a bit of a kiss of death looking back at it now. As a young fella, I had no idea. They entertained me. They were good wrestlers. We didn't know any better then. Looking back at it now, they stole the show every single night. And then you bring out the NWO, when we were children or young adults, we thought they were the cat's meow. A lot of them couldn't wrestle worth a damn, but they had the hoopla. They had all the hype, so we were on that bandwagon. I don't consider myself a purist by no stretch of imagination, but looking back at it now as an educated fan will say, man, that's where it was at. The cruiserweights were tearing the house down every single night and just not getting the love or the attention or the respect they deserved, unfortunately.
Yeah, and well, Jericho, he got out of the cruiserweight division for a little bit, and he got a run with a little TV title belt. And this is another big moment that Jericho was all in for. He wanted this so bad, Bill Goldberg, but for some reason, Bischoff wasn't down for it. Like, I remember, I don't remember where I heard it at, but Jericho was like, I wanted this to be the greatest squash match in history. Jericho was willing to do whatever it took to get in the ring with Goldberg. And Bischoff just wasn't down for it. Renegade, what are your thoughts and memories on, Jericho coming out with Ralphus and the sparklers and the whole mocking the entrance where he gets lost in the back, all that stuff. What are your memories?
Well, I do. I remember most of that, and that was when he started. You know, he landed on my radar, and he quietly became kind of a favorite. And then he would, roll on that when he came over to WWF. But like I said, he was going above and beyond and doing things that nobody else was doing. And correct me if I'm wrong, but with the Goldberg stuff, didn't he try to promote that on television somehow? Like he was trying to get that match, and he thought it was actually going to happen, and then they just kind of pulled it from him.
Yeah, Goldberg
did. Shame.
Yeah, Goldberg didn't even want nothing to do with it. Because he, for some reason, thought Chris was below him.
At that point, he sadly was. Goldberg was the guy.
Yeah, but
realistically, no. But Goldberg was the guy. The sun was shining out of his asshole. No matter what he did, he was it. Jericho is 10 times, 20 times the talent Goldberg is. As much as everybody beats up on Goldberg, I enjoyed it. I liked Goldberg when I was younger. But he's got, 8 moves?
If you're lucky.
Punch, kick. If you ask Bret Hart about the kick, not so good. The spear, the jackhammer, and that's about it. Really. Once again, kudos to him. He's made a great career and a boatload of cash doing it.
Nobody can headbutt a door better than Bill Goldberg.
Well, probably not. Fair. But realistically, Jericho is significantly a better wrestler and entertainer than Goldberg. But once again, we fall into, at that point, Goldberg was Steve Austin 2.0. Bigger dude, no shaved head, goatee, had that look. What did he go, like 400-0 or something before he lost to Kevin Nash, I believe it was. He was all the hoopla and all that nonsense. Sadly, Jericho's significantly better than him, but just didn't get the push or the respect, or I don't know how the hell you want to put it. Jericho is way better, but Goldberg had the machine behind him because of what he is, the look he had, and everything else, unfortunately.
Taylor, what about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as that, because he was even, like, going back, like, if I had been a fan watching that live, I would have preferred Jericho over guys like Goldberg, but unfortunately, that wasn't what was pushed. It wasn't, like, the bigger guys was what was it, and that's what everyone wanted to be like, but at the same time, the guys like Jericho were carrying the show every week, so, and I think at that point, he started to get burnt out before he left WCW and all that, because he's like, I'm doing all this stuff. Like, I'm going above and beyond what anyone else is doing. But here I sit, like, not in main events all the time. And it sucked, because he was one of the main guys who should have been not as overlooked as he was.
And, how many guys like Jericho will be overlooked now, especially in WWE, because Vince wants to go back shopping at the Beefcake Factory and bring boring big guys back in. And you had that problem in the past with guys like Jericho not being given their opportunity because they were looked at as a smaller guy. Smaller guys weren't being pushed. Vince wants to go back to bigger guys. So now how many Jerichos are we going to miss out on, or potentially miss out on, because they won't be given the opportunity?
Renegade, it kind of seems like you got something to get off your chest. Is there somebody particular that Vince is overlooking?
I don't know. Cesaro?
Oh,
Crying out
Cesaro's a
loud.
big dude. He's just overrated.
overrated.
No.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
No.
Oh shit.
Anyways, hold on a minute. Taylor, what are your thoughts about the Swiss Superman, the Swiss cyborg, Cesaro?
See, I think he's like Jericho. He's very overlooked. Never
Okay,
hasn't
hold on one moment. Let's bring Butt back in so he can hear this. Okay, but
No.
whoa. I said you can come back in, not talk. Taylor, please continue about Cesaro.
Again, I think he's more like Jericho where he's overlooked. Like what he hasn't had many world title opportunities, and why not? He could definitely carry the company as champion.
But
See?
we're talking about actual really good wrestlers, not pull flotation devices or, you know.
Wait.
Brock Lesnar?
Renegade.
Yeah,
Once again, who are you talking about? It seems like you got somebody on your mind.
Blotus?
Blotus.
That hack?
Okay. But would you like a rebuttal? No?
Nope.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm not going to stoop to these childish levels. I am an adult. And go fuck yourself.
Wait. Hold on. This podcast, news breaking, we're going to take it to the butt.
Otis, as you see here, at Ringside Collectibles, $12.99 plus shipping.
You overpaid.
And for me, duty, paying out the asshole, is underappreciated.
I bet the box that came in had stretch marks on it.
Cesaro, you'll get him on clearance for like 42 cents. Ain't nobody wants that shit. Cesaro's okay. He's no Otis. He wants to be Otis, but he will never be that. With his European uppercut and
No, because he works out.
Yeah, his European uppercut, not so much. Not happening. He's the future. Cesaro, nope. You can batter to Jesus back to wherever the fuck you came from.
Yeah,
Wow.
might be a future buffet champion.
Hey, I like buffets. Nothing wrong with a buffet.
Well, as long as you're not behind Otis, there'd be nothing
I'm
left.
probably taller than him, so it'll work. I'll just get in front.
Well, I hope Renegade you feel a lot better after getting that off your chest. It seemed like it was eating you, and I'm like, we gotta give you some time.
No, we don't.
Well, I mean, most of that is it's all about Cesaro. I really feel like I at this point, anytime there's cuts in WWE, I want it to be him so he can go somewhere else and get the respect that he deserves. So we'll see. We'll see how things play out. Of course,
You're
if they keep getting rid of people, they'll have no choice but to give him an opportunity because there won't be anybody left.
Vince has to pay Brock's salary. I mean, shit.
Yeah, at $17 million to show 4 times a year, that's smart, I guess. No, as much as I beat up on Cesaro, we have the Cesaro, Otis banter back and forth. No, Cesaro's a wasted talent, unfortunately. And I don't mean that as in he doesn't have talent. Cesaro's got great talent that's being wasted. He should be pushed better than he is.
I will admit his promo skills aren't as good as maybe others are.
Otis.
But I think you can work around that. Like,
You can't work around Otis.
It's
Otis
all the way around. It's like
Otis
45
is the
minutes.
only person I know that could eat a promo. But there are ways to work around that. Like what I would have done when Roman Reigns was having the worst promos of anyone I've ever seen. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, go look up the promo where he's talking about Jack and the Beanstalk against the Big Show, and it was the worst promo I'd ever seen in my life. But at that time, yeah, save yourself the however long that is. But he I would have pulled back. I would have given him more like the Randy Orton treatment, where he doesn't say a whole lot. Randy Orton's been a fan favorite for years because I think one of the reasons is he doesn't talk a whole lot. There's mystique about him. He's edgy. And I would have done that with Roman because that's the kind of thing I feel like when he was in the Shield, that's the thing they were trying to push. He's the quiet, tough guy. Doesn't say a whole lot. But then they come out and he's saying suffer and suck attached to Seth Rollins and this stupid stuff. And they were trying way too hard to get him, I think to be the face of the company, you are going to have to talk a lot. It wasn't working for him, especially whoever was writing those promos. With Cesaro, I think you can do something that gives him, shows some strengths of his, but don't let him. He doesn't have to talk a whole lot. I think his work in the ring speaks for itself. He's got the language thing, so the multi languages. So he's good to promote 5 different languages. So he's good to promote overseas and in other countries and things like that. He really would be, I think, a beneficial champion to them. As time will tell, I guess.
It would be they're dropping the ball. This hurts me. Now make sure you record this, Ritt, and save it. This hurts me.
We're live.
That they're not pushing Cesaro more. I mean, I beat up on him, and it's just fuckery. I'm just joking around. He's good. He's damn good.
Deep down, talent.
Let's not get stupid, okay? Let's not go overboard here. No, Cesaro's good, and they could benefit from him. Once again, with when you're going to different countries and whatnot, and he is good. Like he's got some in-ring talent. If you really wanted to push Cesaro, sadly I don't think they do. But if you wanted to, you put him in a mouthpiece. Bring Jimmy Hart out of retirement. Slap 2 of them together. I'm not saying it'd make a lot of sense, but it'd be entertaining.
I sit there and loved when he was a Paul Heyman guy for a little bit.
Yeah. Paul Heyman is a genius. Like, whatever the history he has with ECW and blah, 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 he is a genius. Don't let him near your bank account. He'll fuck that up. But he is a genius when it comes to wrestling.
I would be curious to see Ric Flair be his manager.
You will never see that.
Well, not now.
Because,
Yeah. But I think that could be, pretty fun to see.
That'd be fantastic. I'd watch the shit out of that. I'd actually watch WWE again.
But that with Jericho, after the whole Goldberg thing fizzled out, and Bischoff knew that he wasn't going to re-sign Jericho because Jericho was, he knew he couldn't go nowhere. Bischoff had him do multiple tours to the New Japan, where he actually he wrestled Liger, Houston under Liger a couple times, and then Bischoff, when he was out getting ready to boot him out the door, he put him in multiple matches with Perry Saturn that made absolutely no sense. Loser wears a dress match. But you wear a dress all the time in your spare time, so it wouldn't really affect you much. But,
it was just once, and I was drunk. You got to let that go, man.
No. Okay, wearing a dress drunk is okay. But when you put on the 9-inch pumps, that's where I draw the line.
Well, I wanted to be 7 foot tall. I need the 9-inch pumps to make 7 foot tall. They cost me $400, and they wouldn't let me return them, though.
Hey! I gotta say though, they made your legs and ass look nice though.
They did. I didn't look clinically obese at all when I put that on.
I know you didn't look
just
nothing.
Fat.
You didn't look nothing like Otis.
Oh.
Every time you show us the figure, it kind reminds me that it should be in a 2-pack, but there's only one figure.
Wow. Our crowd tonight.
So, man,
Joshua, on the zones of regulation, where are you right now when it comes to your hatred for Otis? I mean, you're definitely not in the green zone.
I'd say yellow. A little
You
crazy.
could be in the yellow zone. You're a little silly. You're not. Well, you might be worried about his blood pressure and him getting the diabetes. I don't think you're frustrated. You don't strike me as the red zone. You're not mean. You're not yelling or nothing like that. So are you a solid yellow zone, Rick, or where are we going with this, bud?
I'll take
do you
solid
care
yellow.
to report something?
Solid yellow.
Yellow's not bad. Could be worse.
But hey, let me show you my Otis 2-pack. That's the size of the Otis in real form. And actually, but that's the Enzo and Cass 2-pack I have autographed.
Well, you got that on clearance for like 41 cents.
No, I got that
overpaid.
I got that at PPW. Our good friends at PPW.
Okay, I can't beat up on PPW. I'm gonna get to a show, but it won't be the December show, just so you know.
December show was supposed to be really great. PCO is gonna be there. Anthony Green.
I would love to come see PCO, but unfortunately, we got border issues. So maybe I'll come down February for my birthday, and I'll let you take me out for dinner.
Moose is supposed to be there too. My son's a little disappointed. Big Moose fan, but we're not going to be able to make the PPW show because he has his football banquet that night.
Oh, so
yeah. My son's actually has a chance of going down. A guy at my work's taking his kid down. He's 18. He's got a full ride scholarship to Coastal. Good friends with a couple of people for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And he invited me and my son to come down and get some personal training. You know,
Nice.
So
Sweet. That's awesome.
I'm trying to sit there. Oh, Taylor, in case you didn't know, my son's 11 years old. He's 5'5" and 210 pounds.
Holy shit!
He's a large young fella.
Yeah.
Jesus.
He is the offensive line.
The whole line.
Whole offensive line.
I wish I had grown up playing football.
Same.
But we don't play football where I'm from, so.
No, you're a hockey guy up there.
Hockey and boxing.
Could you imagine a guy your size cross-checking somebody?
I did it a bunch.
Yeah, but that was at work. I'm talking about on the ice.
Okay. I probably shouldn't admit this, but I racked up 49 penalty minutes on one shift.
Wait, what?
One shift.
Okay.
49 penalty minutes. I got a little upset.
Were you in the red zone?
Oh, buddy. This was before I knew what red zones were, but I was well beyond the red zone. I was probably like the black zone. I lost my shit. I got a little upset. And yeah. So I got racked up some penalty minutes, got booted out of the game, and got a 10-game suspension. That was in high school.
It was only 10 games.
Well, I did bad stuff.
So
I might have lost my mind.
Well, this is it. We're going to sit there and go around. Any final thoughts on Jericho, ECW, WCW? And next time we're going to pick up with one of the greatest arrivals ever in WWE, the whole Y2J incident.
Fantastic.
So, Renegade, want to start with you? Closing thoughts.
Yeah, I would say if anyone's not as familiar with the stuff that Jericho is doing in WCW, go back and check it out. I'm actually thinking about going back and reliving some of that stuff because, it was fantastic. He was really just starting to become the Chris Jericho everybody knows and loves, and his stuff was awesome.
But
The Renegade said it about as perfect as could be. Some of his stuff, his ECW stuff, I'm ignorant to it, unfortunately. His early WCW stuff, it was when we were starting to develop the Chris Jericho, Y2J, Painmaker, Demo God, all that stuff was starting to come about, and it was gold. It was amazing. If you haven't watched it and you have the network or YouTube for that matter, there are ways to get it.
In the
Go
States,
back, have a
it's
look.
Peacock.
Well, we don't care. I live in Canada, so we still have the network.
Lucky
and
you guys.
Just look it up. That's right. And it's just gold. Jericho's fantastic. He's Canadian too. Just saying.
Taylor, final thoughts?
Yeah, Jericho is, even now, his stuff is still, he's older now, but all his WCW stuff just laid the groundwork for it. And like Renegade said, I really want to go back and watch a couple stuff because I remember watching him like ripping fan signs and just going absolute nuts with the heel stuff, which was awesome to watch. And definitely always will be one of my favorite wrestlers ever.
Yeah, he is the Le Champion with a little bit of the bubbly. Man, I love that.
Okay, the bubbly. Man, you brought that up. We're gonna. I might teeter out of the green zone. Chris Jericho, Canadian, from Winnipeg, Manitoba. Mr. Butt, from Ontario, the next province over. Why the fuck can't I get the bubbly? No, not available in Canada, only available in the States. That is 100% grade A horse shit.
Just to give you a little heads up, Mikey Whipwreck tried a little bit of the bubbly. He says you're not missing much. He said it kind of tastes like shit.
I will put it up, in my shop. I will put it in my gun room. I will put it in the man cave. I will take some of the wife's stuff out of her office here and I'll put it up. Why can't I get it? That hurts my feelings.
Can you sit there and imagine that? You know, your wife is doing her classroom, and her teacher's like, "What's that in the background? Are you drinking?"
It's a little bit of the bubbly.
Well, guys, we had a great time. Taylor, I hope that we didn't sit there and bore you too much. We kind of hope you come back.
Oh, I'd love to come back if you'd let me.
Fantastic.
It was fun.
Okay, well, we'll vote on it afterwards, and wait by the email.
All right.
So, well, guys, next week, same time, Chris Jericho Part 3. We have a lot of WWE stuff to talk about. Lots of WWE. Multiple returns. The first ever undisputed champion. The whole 9 yards. So, guys, check us out every Tuesday on FRM Pod. 8 o'clock. No, 9 o'clock. Us, Thursday, 8 o'clock. Cult of Beardo. And Future Stars Now. Every Friday at 8 o'clock. I'm the Ritt, Renegade, Butt, and our new friend Taylor. Have a good one, and we'll see you next week.
Well.